Hello, student. We are starting with a new lecture with a new topic, that is solid waste management. So, topics which are going to cover in today's lecture are: what is the solid waste management? What is the sources of solid waste management, or what are different categories of solid waste? How can we manage this waste? What are different techniques? Along with that, how can we control, or what is the role of as a human being or as an individual to control the solid waste? So let's begin with a meaning, or what is a solid waste management. Solid waste is defined as any trash, rubbish that is combustible or non-combustible. That means can be degraded with the help of fire. So refuse, offal, filth, bottles, glass, crockery, cans, cartons, scrap metals, junked vehicles, appliances or hardware, brush, waste soil, rock, construction material, animal carcasses, sludge from a waste treatment plant or oil pollution control facility, or any unsanitary or offensive material or discarded matter or parts or portion, therefore of, or any industrial, commercial, mining, agricultural, or other waste which is not subject to point source discharge permits. So these are a very few solid waste which human beings are generated or generating, but there is n number of things which are enlisted in the solid waste. So that is a waste which is produced because of day-to-day activities, even for the economic purpose, or to, as the nation is growing, population is growing, our demand for so many things are increasing, and it is increasing. By because of those demands, the waste is produced. This may be because in the form of these things, okay, which are enlisted in this. So maybe this may be organic or inorganic matter. But ultimately, what we are doing, the solid waste is generated because of the human population, and what we are doing, we are dumping, or we are trying to dispose all these things on the earth or the soil layer. Now, why there is a need of solid waste management? As I said, because the population is growing, so the different needs or demands are also increasing of each individual. For that, what for the personal need, we are using different things which are helpful in the house. In the production of those things, the many waste material or so much waste material is produced. Along with that, the machineries or the industries are using different kinds of chemicals or the different kinds of instruments. Now, when they are not in a useful condition, also these are considered as a waste. These are also a waste manage from there. Waste management is required. So, the solid waste is ultimately hazardous or the harmful for the human beings and the ecosystem, because as the population is increased, the land is filled for the human habitation, and there is no space remaining, or the very less space is remaining or the leftover for this management, or even for the different management, maybe solid or liquid waste management, which is in the form of liquid, or even in a for a purification plant. So that's why it is important to learn solid waste management. What is the impact of that is a impact, or the very harmful impact on the human beings, along with the different organisms which are present in the ecosystem, not only on the soil or the terrestrial ecosystem, along with that the aquatic ecosystem is also getting infected, and different abiotic factors are getting polluted, for example air, soil, water. So indirectly, because of solid waste, the balance or the equilibrium of the ecosystem, or we can say the environment, it is disbalanced, or it is not, we are not able to maintain. In that case, it is important to study solid waste management. Nowadays, there are different workshops are going on or they are conducted for the solid waste management, because this is a big issue in front of the human beings or the population of the globe right now. So, based on the data from the US Environmental Protection Agency, that is from the 2001, each person in the United States generate 4.5 pounds of solid waste per day in 2000. Now, of course, this is the data from 2000 or 2001. Now it is 2023. So population is also population has increased, along with that the needs and the use of solid waste is also increased. Now the US, or the United States of America, it is also considered as one of the cities which is producing so much waste, maybe in the form of plastic or another thing. So if, especially those who are developed countries, in that country the amount of waste is, or the collected waste, it is very high, or the rate of production is very high. If industrial waste is included, almost 1.8 tons of locally generated waste is landfilled per resident per year. So the landfill, that means they are throwing, or they try to decompose or degrade the solid waste on this large area of the land. Okay, that is the landfill. Land is filled with the waste. Some countries establish mandatory recycling programs. Uh, the some of the countries, okay, like Brazil and all, there is a proper system where their waste is not going to anywhere or in another different country, because the developed countries like US, okay, what they are doing, they are sending, or they try to give, or try to dump their garbage or the solid waste into another country. For that, they are giving money, okay, but they are not keeping their waste in their country or the land. Okay, now what is the advantage of this? So no garbage, no need of recyclation, no need of, or there is no machinery required for the disposal. Okay, and less pollution. So whom they are sending, like undeveloped countries who are underdeveloped countries. So, and along with that, according to the now in India, when there is a new construction, there is a norm, or we can say a law, by which uh, the society has to uh, dispose their all the wet or garbage in the society only. Okay, so for that they have to plant or to construct certain instruments, or the uh, certain machineries for the disposal. Okay, and now those are newly constructed buildings. Okay, they are doing that also. So waste is no longer out of sight and out of mind. Waste is now visible as a part of public policy. So why this is sentence, that is waste is no longer out of sight and out of mind. Okay, whenever you go by road, on that side you can observe garbage is, or the waste is throwing over the road. Okay, and we have spreaded this waste in the space also. Okay, so that is not out of sight and out of mind. Okay, so waste is now visible part of the public policy, as we are generating daily basis with the tons of tons. That's why the it is not out of sight and out of mind. Now, what are types of waste? So the list of important categories of waste and their respective sources. So there are generally four categories in which the solid waste is categorized. Okay, the first one is municipal solid waste. That means collected by the corporation. Now, what are sources of generation? The first one is residential, that is houses and apartments. So small things, maybe plastic bottles, glass, all these things. Okay, that is collected in the residential area. The next one is commercial, that is hotels, restaurant, markets, shopping complexes. Okay, so large boxes, plastic, plastic, or the so many things which are made up of plastic bags. Okay, along with that, maybe organic waste also. The next one is open area, that is the recreational areas, parks, playgrounds. That means the nearby vicinity where the public property is there and many people are visiting and they are generating the large amount of solid waste. Okay. So these three things, or these three sources are categorized in the municipal solid waste, or the municipal is collecting this solid from this area. Now, what is the thing that for the municipal solid waste, there is a proper uh, chain of people or the labor who are working for the collection and transportation of this solid waste. For example, the collection is done at the home, or maybe the cleaners who are cleaning at the open areas. Then, after that, solid waste is segregated into different types of solid waste, maybe organic or inorganic, and then it is sent to a landfill or any other technique by which the solid waste is disposed. So, the different that is a particular chain of people who are working for the disposal of solid waste. Along with that, the municipal solid waste, it is not hazardous as compared to a different category or the sources of solid waste. For example, the industrial waste, it is producing chemicals and textile byproducts. Some of them are maybe toxic and some of them are non-toxic. Okay, therefore, for the disposal, okay, or before doing the disposal, there is a certain procedure which is done. Okay, and the person should keep in mind that is before disposing that things should not be disposed in an open area or on the landfill. Next one is hazardous waste, that is the chemicals and oil form refineries, waste from ordnance and firework factories. So this is the hazardous waste, that is the chemicals and oil from refineries. Okay, that is waste from fireworks and ordnance. So there should be a skillful person is there for the disposal and collection. Along with that, there should be a certain kind of system should be run in the organization or the any factory that it can convert it into less toxic or less hazardous. And the next source is hospital, that is a biomedical waste. So nowadays, that is the amount of biomedical waste is increasing because the population is increasing. Now, earlier they used to throw many things on the soil, so it was one of the source responsible for the soil pollution. Nowadays, there is a more education or the awareness which is done by the government. Okay, and the proper care is taken by the medical sector or the people who are working there. So they segregate this biomedical waste and they give it for the disposal. The next one is agricultural waste, that is agricultural byproducts and residues. So byproducts may include in maybe organic waste and residues. Along with that, there must be certain kind of chemical waste also there. Okay, so these are the normal or the general types of sources which are classified in the category, that is municipal, industrial, hazardous, and agricultural waste. Now, what is the waste management? We have seen what is a waste and types of sources, but what is actually a waste management? Waste management is the collection, transport, and processing of disposal of waste trials, usually one produces by the human activity. Okay, so that means one management is collection, transport, and processing or disposal. That is usually done in the waste management. For example, for the disposal of municipal waste, there is a person who can collect the waste, then it is transport to a particular destination, then actual processing done, and after the processing, there is a proper disposal of the waste. Okay. Now, if you observe why we are facing this issue, Okay, that I've told you what are the reasons. But the only human being is responsible for the production of solid waste, because no other organism you can observe which is producing the solid waste. Only human and their need, it is responsible for the production of waste, and therefore it is a big issue, or it is a big issue in front of the human population. So human activity is an effort to reduce their effects on human health, or local aesthetic and amenity. So along with that, why the disposal is important, that is, it is we can see the ill effects on the human beings. Okay, maybe the respiratory problem, along with that maybe another maybe virus is there which can transmit through this solid waste. Okay, along with that the local aesthetics and amenity. Now nobody would like to buy a that buy a house or any property which is surrounded by solid waste. Okay, so that is a one more issue, or the thing which people should take into consideration, that we should have a clean habitation. So it is not only hampering the human health, but the aesthetic and the amenity also. So focus in recent decades has been to reduce waste materials effect on natural world and the environment, and to recover sources from them. Okay. So nowadays people are more trying to emphasize on the solid waste management. So waste management can involve solid, liquid and gaseous or plasmic, with the different methods and fields of expertise of each. So it is not the only solid material which is uh, degraded or disposed or the managed. Along with that, the liquid, gaseous and plasmic form of waste are also disposed. So waste management practices differ from developed and developing nations for urban and rural areas, for residential, industrial, and commercial products. So, as we know, the different categories, some are hazardous and some are non-hazardous. That means toxic, or maybe not toxic. Maybe organic sorry, not food, organic waste material or inorganic waste material. So, according to that, where the source is, sorry, where the waste is generated, that means source, and based on that, the quantity and the type of waste, that is the category, the methods or the techniques of disposal or the waste management are uh, practices, or they are done. So waste management for non-hazardous residential and institutional waste in metropolitan areas is usually the responsibility of local government authority, while management of non-hazardous commercial and industrial waste is usually the responsibility of the generator. So the non-hazardous waste is disposed by the local government. Okay, that means all the process, that is collection, transport, processing, and disposal, it is done by the government. But when there is a non-hazardous chemicals and industrial waste, okay, this should be a one more term, that is hazardous. Okay, that is generated by industrial waste. It is the responsibility of generator. That means they have to keep the machinery or the processing units in the uh, factory or their unit only, for the conversion of toxic to non-toxic component, non-hazardous to non-hazardous components, and that's why that's how you can dispose them. So what are different management techniques? Okay, so managing domestic, industrial, and commercial waste has traditionally consisted of collection followed by disposal. Collection methods vary widely in different countries and regions. For example, in Australia, most urban domestic households have 240-liter, that is 63.4 gallon bin, that is emptied weekly by the local council. Okay, so based on the locality, based on how much percentage or the how much the amount of solid is generated, okay, by this way or by this calculation, collection is done. For example, nowadays in India, there is certain NGOs who are working for the collection of solid waste. For example, Swachh. Okay, the people are appointed for the collection of waste. And in the rural area, that the truck or the vehicle which is coming for the or which goes for the collection of solid waste, that is the ghanta gadi. Okay? So it is based on maybe ghanta gadi, it is coming by 2 days, after 2 days. Okay, and the Swachh people are coming, the people who are working in NGO, they are coming for every day for the collection of waste. Okay, that is dependent on the how much the quantity of waste is produced in a particular area and the availability of the people. Many areas, especially those in less developed area, do not have a formal waste collection system in place. Okay, that's what I was talking, that there is no regularity of collection of waste in the rural area. So disposal method also vary widely. In Australia, the most common method of disposing solid waste is through landfills because the large country low density population. By contrast, in Japan, there is a more common for waste to be incinerated because country is smaller and land is scarce. Okay, so nowadays most of the uh, countries are facing this issue because the population is high and the landfill or the empty land which is available for the solid waste management is very small. Now, what is a landfill and incineration that we are going to see in the techniques. So there are methods of waste management. The first one is this includes landfill, incineration, waste compaction, composting, and vermicomposting. Okay. So one by one, we are going to see what are these methods. So here is just a pictorial representation of these different systems or methods. Sorry. The first one is landfill. As you can observe, the garbage or the waste is thrown over the soil or the land. The next one is incineration, that is a disposal with the help of fire. The next one is biogas generation, that is organic material. It is decomposed by this method. Composting, that is also a method to decompose organic matter, and a vermicomposting. Okay. And the waste compaction, it is a process which is done in the processing of uh, stored garbage or the waste. Okay. So first we'll see what is a landfill. So disposing of waste in a landfill is the most traditional method of waste disposal, and it remains a common practice in most countries. Running a landfill that minimizes the environmental problems can be hygienic and relative inexpensive method of disposing of waste material. Now, why this method is what you say preferable for most of the countries? Because it is a cheaper. There is not so many money is involved or the infrastructure is required. So that's why it is preferred. The only thing which is required is soil or the area. Along with that, it is commonly practiced in many countries, including India. Okay, and it is considered to be hygienic, but there are certain problems associated with landfills. So, older and poorly managed landfills can create number of adverse environmental impacts, including wind-blown litter, attraction of mice and pollutants such as leachate, which can leach into and pollute groundwater. Another product of landfills containing harmful waste in landfill gas, mostly composed of methane and carbon dioxide, which is produced as a waste breakdown. Now, what are the problems which are associated with the landfill? That is the wind blown litter, that is with the wind, okay, that litter may pass into a nearby habitation. Okay. Attraction for mice or any other pest because the leftover food or this the habitat is favorable for the mice. So this may be a nuisance for the nearby habitation or the nearby people. Along with that, it can act as a vector or the organism which can pass the pathogens from one organism to the another. This is called as a vector. Okay. Next, a disadvantage or the problem which is associated with landfill is certain pollutants may leach it or they leach in the soil layer. So, by the leaching process, okay, they may get percolated inside the groundwater. Okay. So it is not the pollution of only soil, but groundwater also. Okay. So the next thing or the another drawback or the disadvantage is whenever there is a large landfill or area, it is covered with the waste, the harmful waste, because of the different activities, maybe because of heat, okay, and microbes. The amount of that is different gases are produced, that is methane and carbon dioxide. If the amount is higher, then we are saying that these are the greenhouse gases which are responsible for the increase in temperature or directly global warming. These are the problems associated with landfill. Now, what is a so this is a it is picture representation of landfill. This is a picture. It is from Pune city only. Okay. Now, one more problem what you can observe is the most of the thing or the solid waste, it is covered with a plastic. Okay? And as you know, the birds or different or animals are feeding on this food material. So as it is packed with the plastic, so to open that plastic bag and to eat, sometimes the plastic particle or the small portion of plastic bag may enter inside the gut or the digestive system of these animals. Now, the plastic, as we know, it is accumulating in most of the habitats. So it is very harmful for that species. Okay. So the news which came in the last month that the birds which are living at the Antarctica, okay, in the eggshell of that birds, the traces of plastics I have found. Okay. And that is the most dangerous thing. How does that when of course these are a migratory birds, but for so less period of time they are living here or they do migrate another region. So while feeding at that region they got incorporated with the plastic. Okay? And the adverse effect you can observe on their descendants, that is a progeny, and itself the own species also, okay, or the number of species also. Now what is the solution for the modern landfills? Okay, what is the solution for all these problems associated with the landfill, that is modern landfills? So characteristic of modern landfills include method of to certain leachates such as lining clay and plastic liner. So disposed waste should be compacted and covered to prevent mice and rats and windblown litter. And many landfills also pave a landfill gas extraction system installed after they are closed to extract the gas generated by decomposing waste materials. So what they do, they spread the garbage or the waste material and they covered with any lining of plastic, okay, and lining clay. That is with the clay they try to fix that waste at a one place. Okay. Now we are using plastic liners. That means indirectly to what is it, to control the problems caused or therefore because of modern landfills. Sorry, landfills. You're again generating plastic. Okay. Then this should be compacted with the clay or liners. Okay, that will prevent mice and rats and windblown litter. So that are more that is more prominent problems associated with this landfills. Many landfills also pay landfill gas extraction. Okay, so because the greenhouse gases which are produced at the landfills, okay, they are extracting that gases with the gas extraction system. Okay, then this gas is often burned to generate power. So that gases are used in a different industries or maybe to generate electricity. Generally, even flaring the gas off is a better environment outcome than allowing the to escape the atmosphere, as this consumes the methane, which is so far stronger greenhouse than the carbon dioxide, as we know. And some of it can be trapped for us as a fuel. Okay. Now, the next method is incineration. Okay, what is incineration? It is a process of destroying waste material by burning it. That means with the help of fire, the in the furnace, the waste material is destroyed or the decomposed. Incineration is carried out both on a small scale by individuals and on a large scale by industry. Okay. It is recognized as a practical method of disposing of hazardous waste materials such as biomedical waste. Okay, because there is no other option to kill certain pathogens and parasites which are attached or they are along with the medical waste. That's why this method is very useful for the biomedical waste. Okay. So as you can observe in the picture, that is collected waste is dumped or they stored in the storage pit. Then they are passed into a furnace. Okay, and with the help of fire, that waste is disposed and that is forming ash. So that ash may be collected. If it is useful, then it is used in a different industries. Otherwise, it is disposed. Then whatever the gases which are produced while burning all the solid waste, they are used to generate electricity. So you can see here, there is generator and electricity grid. Okay, and these are all the machineries which are associated with the furnace or the incinerator. Now, what are problems associated with the incinerator? It destroys not only the raw material but also all the energy, water, and other natural sources used to produce this. That means lot more energy expenditure. Okay? Incineration creates toxic gas and ash, which can harm local population and pollute groundwater. Right? So, what is the solution for this? That is a modern incinerator. What are modern incinerator? They are working at the two uh, principles or the two methods, that is pyrolysis and gasification. So these are the two methods or two related forms of treatment where the materials are incinerated with the limited oxygen. Okay. The first one is pyrolysis. What is a pyrolysis? That is a thermal decomposition of material. And at this, because at the high temperature, the material is decomposed with the temperature. So, a pyrolysis of solid waste converts material into solid, liquid, and gas or the gas products. Okay. So, pyrolysis, that is pyro is fire and or we can say heat. Okay. And lysis means separating. So, with the help of heat, material or the solid waste is separated or you can say decomposed. The next method is solid, liquid oil and gas can be burned to produce energy or refined into other products. The solid residue, that is char, can be further refined into products such as activated carbon. So, this activated carbon has high demand in the industries where the actual carbon is used. For example, even the normal in the cosmetic products are also used. That is, they are flashing their ad, that is, activated charcoal is there for the purification. Along with that, in many different industries, the activated charcoal is required. But nowadays, this activated, carbon that is called as a char, it is produced from the biological processes also. Okay, that is called as a biochar. So there is not any kind of the gas production or the energy consumption which is involved in the biochar. Okay, that is produced only by the char, that is a solid residue which are decomposed or which is decomposed by pyrolysis or in the modern incinerator. Okay. The next thing that you can do it is gasification. It is used to convert organic material directly into a synthetic gas composed of carbon monoxide and hydrogen. So the gas is burned to produce electricity and steam. The gasification is used in a biomass power station to produce renewable energy and heat. So these things can be done for the control of, or these are the this is the method which is used in a modern incinerator. That is a one is pyrolysis and other one is gasification. That is organic material is converted into gases. Okay, so these gases are used for the produce electricity, okay, and to use as a uh, renewable source of energy. For example, hydrogen, which we can use even at the space station. Okay. Another method is plasma gasification. What it is actually, the plasma gasification is the gasification of matter in an oxygen-starved environment to decompose waste material to its basic molecular structure. So that oxygen-starved environment, that means reduced environment, or the reduction, sorry, the oxygen deficient environment. Okay. So reducing environment is there. So what is the result of this environment? The decomposed waste material into basic molecular structure. That means the bonds are breaking and the molecules are coming, or the substances are coming into basic molecular structure. Next one is plasma gasification. That is the plasma gasification does not compose waste as the incinerator do. It converts organic waste material into fuel gas that still contains all the chemicals and heat energy from the waste. It converts inorganic waste into an inert gas. Vitrified gas. Okay. So the heat and chemicals are not generated by the plasma gasification. There is not a combustion reaction. It is only a gasification process, okay, in the oxygen starved environment. So the energy consumption or the heat production is very less in the plasma gasification. The next method is called as a volume reduction. Okay. So this means various techniques for making the waste fit into less space and easier to handle in bulk, usually achieved by compacting or fragmentation by shading and grinding. So if you see this picture, uh, you can have a general idea what is a compaction. So it is, the first thing is what they do, a compaction. So waste water is compacted or compressed. It is also break up large and fragile items of waste. So this process is conspicuous in the feed at the back of mini garbage collection vehicles. So in landfill sites, the waste is often compacted by driving over it with a heavy excavator type vehicle with spiked wheel. So nothing but to manage the space, to reduce the space which is accommodated by uh, waste. Okay. So what we can do, or the easiest way that we can reduce the space or maximize the space and reduce the waste, it is compaction. Okay. So the large heavy vehicles are what we say, they roll over or drive over though that solid waste. So the volume may reduced, and these are collected and packed in a bundle. Can observe here. Okay. So it is easy to pass on for the further processes also. The next one is shearing. That is, a waste is sliced with a heavy metal shears. So the actual shearing process is not, the picture is not available, or I could not found that. But this is the general structure of machinery where the shearing is done. Okay. Uh, Next one is grinding. The waste is ground by the hammer mill. So for this also a big instrument is used. Okay. And the material which is not easily compact. Okay. That is, the compaction or the volume reduction is done by these two methods, that is shearing and grinding. So the metals are sheared, or they reduce the volume with the help of shear, and the grinding, that is waste is which is not segregated or compacted over this compaction and sharing. Then the last option is grinding, okay, with the hammer mill. Now the fourth technique is a resource recovery technique. What is a resource recovery technique? There are a number of different methods by which resources may be extracted from the waste. That all we know. The material may extracted and recycled, or the calorific content of the waste may be converted to the electricity. What we can do, we can recover most of the part of the resource, which is going to be uh, classified as a waste. Okay. So what we can do, the first thing is recycling. So that is the easiest way what we can do, and most of the people are doing. Recycling means the reuse a material that would otherwise be considered as a waste. Okay. For example, recycling, we can use old clothes for the different purpose. We can use pages. Okay. If the one side is leftover, or we can use pages for different materials for packing or all these things. Likewise, the small things we can recycle or the reuse. Okay. The most common consumer items recycled includes aluminum beverage cans, steel, food aerosol cans, HDPE, that means a high density polythene. Okay. Then next one is PEP, that is is a po- that is also a what is it, a form of polythene. Okay. Plastic bottles, glass bottles, jars, paper boards, cartons, newspaper, magazine, and cardboards. Okay. Along with that, other types of plastic, that is plastic, that is PVC, LDPE, then plaster of Paris, PP, PS. Okay. So all these are the types of plastic that is dependent on the thickness or the quality. Okay. So for example, this one is polyethylene tetraphthalate. Okay. Likewise, based on the gradation of the plastic, the different types of plastic are also recyclable or we can reuse. Okay. So the small DIY videos are also available on the YouTube. Okay. So many people are doing that thing, that the small, even the small bucket which is broken, we can use as a for plant we can over there, or anything what we can do, any good decorative thing. Okay. Likewise, we are recycling the things. These items are usually composed of a single type of material, making them relatively easy to recycle into new products. Okay. The recycling of obsolete computers and electronic equipments is important, although more costly due to separation and extraction problems. The recycling of junk automobile also dependent on the scrap metal market, and as we know, this is the biggest market of in most of the cities. So recycling usually requires significantly less energy, water, and other resources to produce new materials. Okay. For example, recycling 1000 kgs of aluminum cans saves approximately 5000 kg of bauxite ore being mined and 95% of energy required to refine it. Okay. So this practice, okay, it is, or this data is from the Australia. They have done this recycling process. The next method is decomposting and composting and digestion. So waste material that are organic in nature, okay, such as plant material, food scrap, paper products are increasingly being recycled. Okay. How you can recycle? That materials are put together, put through a composting and or digestion system to control the biological process to decompose the organic matter and kill pathogens. Okay. Certain biological process, that means different enzymes and chemicals are used. The resulting stabilized organic material is then recycled as a mulch or compost for agriculture or landscaping purposes. Okay. That is, the rich organic matter is helpful for the agriculture. Okay. Likewise, the composting is done. Now, what are other treatments which are available in the, or which are usually practices? That is mechanical biological treatment. That is mechanical biological treatment, MBT, is the technology created for combination of mechanical sorting, and biological treatment. That's why mechanical biological treatment for organic fraction of municipal waste. Okay. So what is a mechanical part of this term? That is, element is usually a bulk handling mechanical sorting. So the sorting of this or the segregation of the waste, it is done by mechanically. And this either removes recyclable elements from mixed waste streams such as metals, plastics, and glass, or processes it in a given way to produce high calorific fuel. Okay. And the biological elements refers to either anaerobic digestion of composting. Okay. So that means organic part is separated out. Anaerobic digestion breaks down the biodegradable component of waste to produce biogas and soil improver. Okay. So biogas can be used to generate renewable energy. That is, MBT is gaining increased recognition in countries with a changing waste management market. So what is it? That this one is the most modern approach for the treatment of uh, organic waste. Okay, or to separate the organic waste and treat them separately, or treat that solid waste separately. The emphasis is modern solid waste management is on reduction, reuse, recovery before disposal. Okay, so what are these terms? You must have heard somewhere. Okay, that is recycle, reuse, and recover. Even on the any packet, you must have seen the picture that is throw in the dustbin. Along with that, there is a three arrows, green arrows are there that symbolizes that the this can reuse and recover again. Okay. So what is reduction? First one is reduction. That is reduction in fewer disposable goods. So we can minimize our needs and we can reduce the disposable goods. For example, the common thing which we can use, we can use cotton bags for the uh, purchasing anything which is from the market, maybe vegetables or maybe any small grocery products. The next one is reuse. Reuse is using items again after their initial consumer used in the past. For example, clothes, the that furniture. Likewise, things we can reuse. Recovery, the next term is recovery, is recapturing the material or energy value of the item at its highest point. Okay, that means how much energy or the how much part we can cover from this waste material. Okay. So no single solution completely answer the question of what to do without waste. Every community or region has its own unique profile of solid waste. Okay. The composition of the waste varies depending on such diverse variable as urbanization, commercial enterprises, manufacturing, and service sector activities. So, similarly, the attitude of people in different states and regions of the country vary regarding waste management practices. So, that is also dependent on the how this waste management practice or the thing which is working or not working, that is also dependent on the people's attitude. Okay. Community diversity and waste diversity are two reasons why no single approach to waste management has been accepted as the best method, because every mind is working differently or every brain is working differently. So we have to be together and try to fix this problem, okay, or try to solve this issue. So what we can do to reduce or to control the waste or the solid waste. Okay? So waste management we can do, that is the collected garbage or the any solid waste, we can treat them with the different methods and techniques. But what we can do to reduce the solid waste, okay, which is generated or which is going to be generated. So whenever possible, buy bulk or concentrated product to reduce packaging. Okay. Along with that, what we can do, there is a facility of refill pack. So by this way, we can reduce the use of plastic or the solid waste. For example, include concentrated juice, laundry detergents. Reduce toxic waste by purchasing paints, pesticide, and other hazardous material only in the quantities needed or by sharing leftovers. So that we can do. Okay. And uh, there should be a proper way of disposal. You should not throw this paints or pesticides in the that common drainage line. Okay, because ultimately it is getting mixed with the solid waste, okay, which is not or the which is the solid waste you can say management plant where the processes are not done on these things, that is paints and pesticide, or this is not the site where the processing or the detoxification is done. Byproducts made from recycled material. So nowadays so many people are aware and they are trying to buy the materials from the recycle material which is from recycle or which is more organic or easily we can dispose them. Many bottles, cans, cereal boxes, containers, cartons are made from recycled material. That all we know. The next approach is reuse. That is, select reusable products, sturdy, washable utensils, tableware, cloth napkins, dishcloths can be used many times. For example, we are using so many tissue paper. So instead of that, the previous approach that is use a handkerchief. Okay, that is a so simple approach. I think so that we can do it again. So reuse newspaper boxes, shipping peanuts, and bubble wraps to ship packages. Nowadays, many packaging companies or who are selling online products, they also have shifted on uh, the paper or the boxes. Okay, instead of they are trying to avoid the plastic material. Choose furniture, sports equipment, toys, and tools that will stand by test of time. Take unwanted items to charitable groups, sell them, or give them to those who can use them. Okay, that all we can do this. The next approach is recycle. Buy recyclable good. Then remember to recycle paper, glass, certain plastic and metals. So take car batteries, antifreeze, motor oil to participating recycling centers and do it yourself. That is DIY collection centers use oil, learn to how to make compost, food scraps, and yard waste can become natural oil conditioners. So that we can do. So this was about how we can maintain or how we can what we can do for the prevention or the control of solid waste. Okay. Now one more technique which I forgot to tell you, that is vermicomposting. So vermicomposting is nothing but a composting which is of organic material done with the help of worms. Now these worms are in the form of or these worms are earthworms. Okay. So earthworms are living in the soil, that all we know, and the organic waste is also dumped in the soil. Now certain amount of worms or the earthworms are introduced in a particular area and we can put the garbage or the solid waste into that particular area or the container, and that will be act as a food for these worms or the earthworms, and naturally they are converting this organic matter into a less complex organic matter that is called as the manure or the cast, which is helpful for the farming or the plants because it is rich in nutrients, and there are different species are used for the vermicomposting. For example, Eudrilus, that is called as a night earthworm, which is a very high and a very big earthworm. Because why we are using this type of species? Because a big earthworm can ingest lot of amount of solid waste inside the body and can produce large amount of cast at a time. So that's why the bigger species or different species which are highly specialized for the composting are used. So let's the other techniques which we have discussed. Okay. So in today's lecture, we have studied what is the solid waste management. That is, with the solid, what is the solid waste? How, what are the sources of solid waste categories? how can we that is decompose or manage the solid waste, that is with the help of different methods. Okay, there is landfill, incineration, then reuse, that is compaction. Okay, and the last one is how can we convert organic material, that is composting, vermicomposting, and with the MBT, that is mechanical biological treatment. Okay? And the last part of this lecture, what we have studied, that is how can we reduce or what we can do to control the solid waste. In that, we have seen different approaches, that is reduce, reuse, recycle. Okay? And so many simple things we can use to reduce or to manage the solid waste material.